Hello guys, welcome back to Do-It-Yourself Harley. And basically what I've done is I went ahead and started tearing down a lot more of the bike, removed the oil container, I guess, oil reservoir that's over here, and let's see if I can get this camera adjusted here. Went ahead and did that, make things a little bit easier on myself, which gave me pretty much access to my starter and removing that. You don't have to remove your oil canister to remove the starter, or to remove, if you're replacing specifically the starter, or moving that side housing because it's having a little leak issue or something of that nature. But hold on a minute and I'll grab the parts and I'll show you. Okay, so of course naturally, see this part here, that's typically what you're going to find. This little washer is what I was talking about. When you go to remove this, make sure I get this good here. Move the camera a little bit here. You'll see this is usually mounted right here. See if I can get it in the hole. There we go. And like I said, this pretty little washer here usually is on the back side back there. Now you don't have to remove the starter, of course, unless you're just replacing the starter. But a starter's simple, pull the two bolts out, boom, done. Same thing with the solenoid. You undo these two bolts here on the back side here. You undo those, it'll pop out. Of course, it's got a spring and everything in it. If you don't have to replace anything in the inside, and you know you don't, then I wouldn't worry about it. You can just pop that whole section off, replace the gasket. Sometimes you don't even have to replace the gasket because the gasket's still good. But like I said, just imagine my oil tank's still there, like I said, and you can get to the two bolts that are on the opposite side, which one's right here, one's right at the top, and it's relatively simple, and then you just pull it off. Well, it comes off, and what happens is this washer sits on here, okay? What happened is, in the inside here, you'll notice, and I'm just going to let y'all find out for yourselves, because like I said, it happens to everybody. And a lot of the times, because it's got oil on this washer here, so what'll happen is it'll sit inside there as soon as you pull that out, and it'll kind of just prop itself straight up, and it'll sit there if you ease it out. And it'll sit there, and it won't fall down on your crankcase or your primary case, okay? And you just reach in there after it's done. You know, you reach inside there, you grab it out, it'll be sitting, you know, right there, and you just reach in and grab it out. Easy peasy, nothing to it. Your starter, here of course is my starter here. You just remove the two bolts. You can pull the starter out yourself. You can check the Bendix drive. You can check, you know, whatever you think you need to check or replace, anything like that. I'm not going into too much detail about taking this apart because anybody can tear it down. Putting it back together is a different story. And you can, like I said, if you just needed to replace the solenoid or just the starter, you can do it. Now, I don't know about original frames or anything like that, but I imagine you could. From some of the videos that I've seen, you should be able to. There's no excuse why you shouldn't, to be honest about it. Of course, you might have to move some starter wires or something of that nature. I went ahead and removed my battery box also, and all that pretty stuff. I also went ahead and removed this case cover. Of course, you have to pull out all your internals in here. It's very simple, very easy to do. Let me get this thing flipped down again. Okay, like I said, the sun's going down behind me, so it could get a little dark, but I removed all the internals inside here. Doesn't really matter. As long as one of these pistons are at the top, doesn't matter. And I'll tell you why. Because Harley Davidson's has a double spark system. While one's on, I guess you could say the compression stroke, where it's getting, once it hits top dead center, fires. Okay, this one's also firing on its exhaust stroke. So it's a double fire system at all times. So it doesn't really matter whether you have this one up or this one up. Doesn't matter at all. It doesn't even matter when you go to retime the thing. It doesn't matter. When you go to put the point systems back in, doesn't matter. Now, in this case, this was a little bit tough to get off. It did require a little bit of elbow grease and a love and finesse and a few jumping jacks and things like that. But basically, with a little bit of love, pried it off there. And usually it takes a little persuasion to get it back on too, because I'll show you. Well, you got a bazillion little gears in there, okay? And like I said, as long as one of these are up at the top, you're all biscuits and gravy. See how these like to sag a little bit? They have just a little bit of sag, so sometimes they can be difficult to get it back in. Well, without getting into too much detail here, let's see if I can drop this camera down a little bit more, and we'll get in real close and we'll show you the alignment marks. So the camera's going to shake a little bit, but I'll get her down. I'm going to keep it on the tripod because I got run chainsaws a lot and everything else, so my hands are always shaking. But we'll move her down here now. Okay. So what we got going on here is, of course, when one of these pistons is up on top, okay, like I said, it doesn't matter which one. You kind of just want to, there's a timing mark, sits right here. That's of course at your 11 o'clock position. Okay, 11 o'clock meaning like that, this way. So once that's at the 11 o'clock position, there's a little mark here, and there'll be a little mark on this gear. So once those two are aligned, whichever piston is all the way up, chances are, if it's not the front one that's all the way up, they got it 180 degrees out, which is fine, doesn't matter. Like I said, Harley has a double point system, so it's not exactly that critical. You want to be a little anal about it, you can switch all the gears around, do whatever you want to do. It's not a problem as long as you get these marks lined up. Okay, so you got a mark here and a mark on this other gear. We'll just say small gear is aligned with mark big gear here. Okay, then this mark is aligned with this cam lobe. Well, this cam gear. Okay, and of course this is cam gear too. This is all cam gears. These ones are specifically designed, or specifically cam gears in a sense. So we'll just refer to them as that, make things a little bit easier on you guys. And of course there is a timing mark here, which is aligned with this one, and then there's a timing mark here, which is aligned with this timing mark. That brings it in perfect, even though it's so-called 180 degrees out. It's really not that big of a deal. Like I said, if you're a stickler about things, you can, like I said, you can fix that problem yourself. Doesn't really matter. Like I said, these old school Harleys, they have a double fire system, so when one's sparking up here, this one's receiving the same spark out in the exhaust stroke, which helps burn unwanted fuel that's pretty much just sitting in the cylinder. Sometimes it can cause backfires, things like that. Well, I wouldn't say a backfire, more like flame shooting out your tailpipe if you're running real rich. Not always the case though. But pretty much pull that off. I inspected a few things. I noticed I probably got a little oil leak down here around the pump housing, and I probably will end up replacing that gasket most likely. Like I said, if it's not leaking real bad, especially with having to take certain things apart, I wouldn't mess with it. Unless you were painting the motor or something like that, then that would be a different story. You don't want to have any issues. So that's basically what I've done there, and then a few little other tips and tricks about this. Like I said, it would just be a matter of removing this, flipping this gears around, getting it on top dead center and all that good stuff, and for the front cylinder, and then replacing these gears in there. Like I said, it's not that big of a deal because Harley has a double fire system. At least this bike does, and majority of old school Harleys will, unless you've upgraded it or somebody else has upgraded to a single fire ignition system, something like that. And that doesn't count for these new Harleys now. New Harleys are different, and it depends on your upgrades and things like that. So don't take my word for it on a non old school Harley. Definitely got to know your bikes. I think it goes all the way up to 90s and things like that, where the same system is still put in. And I think the system is still put in on most of these newer bikes. I mess with a lot of the older bikes myself. I prefer it that way. But the next thing I did was to check out the cam lobes and things like that. Of course, I did not pull out any of these. I'm not going to. No need to. Um, Basically, if I'm going to see wear, I'm not going to really worry about the cam lobes themselves. I'm going to worry about the lifters itself. So what I did was, of course, these are 1/2 inch. Just unscrew them. Now you may have to take you a bigger screwdriver, of course. I'm just using this as my pointer detail to give you guys an update of what I've done. And then of course you reach in here. There's a nice little groove. You can also take a rubber mallet hammer and knock these a little bit sideways. Get you a little pry bar or prying device, I'll say, and they just come right out. And then you can look at the lifters and see if there's any score marks or anything like that. Chances are, if there's no score marks on this, your lobes are probably fine. And then, of course, this little gasket here is some of the gaskets we're going to replace. Might as well, since we're in here. And like I said, just put them back down in there. That way you don't get confused about which ones they go in, because there's no, unless you just plan on marking them. Some people mark them, some people don't. It's however you want to do it. Some people have their own little preferred methods because, well, some people have very good memories or things like that. But as far as that goes, guys, that's pretty much what I've done. Besides, of course, if you remember where this was, I cleaned this off with some good old-fashioned carbon choke cleaner made by Gum Out. It dries up really quickly, doesn't leave too much of a residue, anything like that. Like I said, for getting rid of those big deposits, you might as well do it now, while the bike is basically being torn down, and not have to worry about cleaning it up after you get it back together. Kind of sucks in a way. Might as well clean it up as you go. It's easier to keep something maintained than it is to basically give it one big good cleaning, which you'll have to do anyways eventually. But for the most part, like I said, I removed all this. I removed some of my oil lines, which those I'm going to go ahead and replace those too. I'm going to put some better clamps on. I don't like these clamps I currently got on them. They're just the tie down or the screw down ones. They leave a lot of slack and look a little messy to me personally. But like I said, for the most part, everything that I've done, like I said, and I cleaned off. I did clean that head off, as I showed in a previous video. Oh, by the way, this is part 3 of the video. I don't know if I failed to mention that. This is a part 3, like I said, and we're into the motor, getting down pretty far, and I was going to pull these off, the jugs off, or the cylinders off, but I changed my mind. Waited another time. I got to work first, and then I'll be back probably here in the next 4 to 5 days, and I'll be able to pull these off, probably pull the primary off, have a little bit more time on the weekends to do it naturally, and we'll get into some more details about ring compressors and things like that, and how to do it and all that good stuff. You know, like I said, I'm not trying to go into too much detail while I am just tearing it down, because like I said, any monkey can tear it down. It doesn't really require a lot of knowledge about how to tear down these bikes. I mean, it's kind of just follow what I'm doing and watch the videos, and like I said, there's really nothing to it. Now there's also, down here at the bottom, some people, you know, there's little side covers here that goes on here. That pops right off. There's a few, see if I can find it here, yeah, for your brake lines and things like that. Relatively simple thing to do when you're trying to pop your brake line loose, in a sense. On this one, it has an old drum on the back, and I don't know if you can see that, but just two screws. Unscrew them from the back piece there, and it'll allow you to slide the cable in and out, as you can see in the video there. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, and it comes loose. It's like I said, it's nothing to it. Easy, easy peasy, nothing. And like I said, this is 1/2 inch. These pop out. Do the same thing, kind of check them, make sure everything's good. If they're halfway decent and good, see, Harley was built, and they give them a great tolerance. Even if there's some slop and everything, these bikes will continue to run. They're just absolutely amazing motorcycles. And that's the good thing about a lot of American-made motorcycles. May not be good on fuel, like Hondas and Kawasaki's and all that stuff, but these bikes were built to last a while, even with slop. You let some slop get in a Kawasaki or something like that, you're never, ever going to fix that problem. Um, but that's what I like about Harley Davidson, and the fact that they're easy to work on. And most of this stuff will be around for a long while. Probably will still be here when I'm dead, most likely. Um, But yeah, when taking off this cover, I did have a little bit of excess oil leak out, so I put my little pan down there, catch me some of that oil. I did scrape off the gasket, and I did use my polishing wheel that I showed y'all earlier in a previous video that I polished up the heads up here. To polish around here and get some of that gasket off there. I also did the same thing to the cover itself, and inspected it and all that good stuff, and I'll be spraying some gum out. Now, one thing I want to say though is I would recommend when putting this back to this particular area back on is to get you some petroleum jelly. Now, the reason why I say petroleum jelly is because it dissipates really quickly. Well, not too quickly, but quickly enough. And you just put it in between your gears here and on these right here. And that will, because you're draining all your oil out, so there'll be nothing in the crankcase itself when you pretty much get ready to put it back together. So having that petroleum jelly lubrication there will help it until the oil gets to flowing through the whole body. And of course, petroleum jelly naturally is a petroleum-based product, so it will dissipate. And like I said, it does not cause any problems. You can use like white lithium grease. Some people like using that stuff. I don't particularly care. It doesn't matter. Like I said, there's multiple ways you can do this. I've known people to take just regular bearing grease, nothing that's spectacular, but just some clear bearing grease, put on them. They said that you can do things like that. Petroleum jelly, if you got it. Like I said, it's really not like super critical that you put the oil on it. It just helps, first of all, get everything back into place, get them on there. And like I said, when putting this cover back on, which I'll show you, when putting this cover back on there, these gears have a tendency to slack a little bit, like I said, and it can be a little bit difficult to get it on there. You may have to, poke your finger up, get it started, or take a screwdriver and kind of just poke it up a little bit. And like I said, it can be a little pain in the ass. But like I said, I'm not digging into this motor that far to replace all those seals and everything. Not seals, to replace all those little needle bearings and all that stuff. That's just way too much for me, or way too much that I want to do for this bike. Now, unless somebody specifically asks me, I'm not going to do it. But I do know there is videos out there that do get that in depth. And that's my neighbor leaving on his Harley. He's one of those guys, he don't even know how to drive on gravel. He's scared to death. He'll drive about a mile per hour with his feet on the ground going up the damn hill. Don't make no sense to me. But told him there's take his rear tire down about 35 pounds, leave 40 pounds in his front. I said, you won't have no problems after that, but he still ain't done it yet. But anyways, guys, like I said, we'll get into a little bit more detail. Like I said, don't worry about it being 180 degrees out. It doesn't matter. Harley's got a double fire system, so it doesn't really matter about it being 180 degrees out. Same thing with the points system that will be bolted up to, I believe it's right here. Yeah, you ain't got to worry about that either. As long as when it comes in contact, it should be making contact at the top dead center. Once it does that, it's all gravy from there. So we'll just continue to leave my rear cylinder up, and this of course will be on its exhaust stroke most likely, which I believe it's on its exhaust stroke, unless there's something I'm missing here. Yeah, it's getting ready to do its exhaust stroke. Man, tell you what, I'm getting old. But it's also another good time to think about cleaning out your oil ports and all that good stuff and spraying things. Because believe it or not, right here, where this is an oil hole, okay, and what it does is, let's see if I can explain this easy. Oil will actually drain. Of course, they should be draining through here, up on the piston, not the piston, up by cylinder heads there. They should drain back in, and these are actually what pushes oil up to the head. And of course, that's ran by the pump itself up through there magically. And just make sure that these holes are clean. You can spray some carpet choke cleaner down through these, make sure everything's free and clear. And like I said, it's always good practice. And I'll give you a little idea. So you want to talk about how it comes out down there? Make sure these are clean. And of course, if it's clean, then you're good. You always want them free and clear. Now I know there's another thing that other people say too about down here. There should be like a little oil hole, okay? That should be showing up. Well, I'm 180 degrees out, so I should not have any oil hole showing. I don't know how true that is, honestly. I've rebuilt bikes before. I've never actually heard of anybody ever having issues with that particular item there, it being 180 degrees out or whatnot. Oil's going to flow regardless. Doesn't matter. It's a pump. Just let everybody know. Doesn't matter where it is or how it's timed or anything like that. Oil, that's all it does is run that pump, and that pump runs constant. So being 180 degrees out, 1 tooth off, 3 tooth off, in a sense, right here it's not that big of an issue. A lot of people focus purely on points and dots and things like that. That's why Harley went ahead and made it a certain way, the way everybody can keep with the same kind of theme, I guess. But I believe I got everything. Like I said, I removed my battery cover, and so if there's anything I missed in this video that you guys are just curious about or wondering about, feel free to leave me a comment below, and I will be more than happy to try to answer your questions or anything like that. If there's something, like I said, that you want to see, or if you want to see me even retime all this, I can do that. I'd rather not, but I can do it. It's kind of a pain in the ass with, moving the gears around, things like that. Of course, you want to move all your your lifters out. You want to move all that before you start doing the monkeying around there. And I'm going to probably remove this anyways, so I'll do that when, of course, I get it out of the bike, because I'm going to have to get down and dirty. And this is actually where it drains back in. For anybody that won't, just curious, that's not actually a gasket right there. Some people think immediately that's the gasket. That's actually where the oil drains back down into there, and then it's picked up by the oil pump, and then it's, of course, pushed to if you've got an oil filter or your tank and things like that. But like I said, please like and subscribe. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, guys, and I appreciate all your support. There is a donation button if you guys want to donate to me. It's in of course, in the channel on the right. So you click my channel, look to the right hand side, it'll say, some form of donation, fan funding, things like that. Of course, you can, if you prefer PayPal, you can donate to me that way. Like I said, it helps me out, helps my kids out, helps, all that good stuff and everything. I like to call it pizza money. My kids always love pizza, so they're gonna break me on pizza one day. But yeah, pretty much that's pretty much it so far. And like I said, I hope you guys enjoy the video. And like I said, as I go along, When we get ready to put this bike back together, there'll be a little bit more critical talking points. So if you just happen to tear yours down or just happen to be curious about things, this is probably a good channel for you. A lot of the videos out there, like I said, are currently they're old, they're outdated, they need some new fresh videos, high definition videos. This is high def, by the way, just for everybody to know. And like I said, eventually I'm gonna have to get a microphone for this, that way I ain't gotta be so dang gum close here. And but anyways, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here, guys. Please like and subscribe. And this is Do Yourself Harley, and I'll see you in the next episode.